Prasad, Vishnupriya, Narayana, Sai Harish, anybody. Thanks for all joining in. Prasad, can you hear me? Okay, so okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I can hear Vikram. Vishnupriya says Vikram. Oh, all right, great guys. So quickly, how many of you are from programming background? You can just say yes, no, or you can just raise your hand from the the control panel. Okay, so, Prasad says yes. So Prasad, do you have a background from React or is just the UI, or you have any programming background other than HTML, CSS, JavaScript? Okay. I don't hear back from Prasad. Anybody else? I just see one guy who's saying he has a little bit background, programming background. Okay, so Prasad says it's a basic HTML and JavaScript. That's a good thing to know. All right, great. So how many of you can, okay, let me just go back and clear all. How many of you can really drive? How many of you can drive? You can use your the little yes and no button on your control panel. I try keep saying this again and again because people keep joining in. If they're not familiar with the Zoom control panel, I have to keep saying this. This is little annoying and I have to do this. Okay, Naveen has just joined in.
Yeah. Hi, Anna. Hi, bro.
Hi, Naveen. Hi, Pradeep.
Hi, bro.
Hello. Guys, do you mind if I wait for another 5 minutes so people joining in so nobody misses the class? Because
Okay.
the takeoff is really necessary. Okay, the Vishnupriya says she doesn't know how to drive. That's okay, you will learn. When I own my when I brought a car, I owned a car and I paid for the car and my friend drives the car and it was registered on his name. I pay the all the EMIs and all. That's how it works. I don't think this is the same situation with you. You pay for someone else driving your car. I think your situation is much better. But later point of time, I started learning. Okay, another guy, Rahupal joined. Hello, Rahupal. Ajay joined in. Hello, Ajay. I would wait for another 2 more minutes for people joining in, and we would take it off. Am I loud and clear, guys? Awesome. Thank you, Prasad.
Yes.
Yes. Prasad, if you can talk, that would be really, that would be really nice. I appreciate your feedback on the control panel, but if you can talk, anybody who doesn't have noise in and around them would, if they talk, I feel that okay, my audio is working and you guys are listening. I want someone to respond back. Just wait for another minute and we can take off. Thank you, Gautami, for joining in. And thank you, 510-754-9248. for joining in. Probably you might have a name. You should have and put the name, so I would be much easier for me to bring up your name.
Oh, that's my name is Rahupal Vikram. I hope we spoke earlier.
Zara?
Rahupal?
Oh, Rahupal. Oh, is it your number?
Yeah.
510754922?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're trying connecting from your phone. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started, guys. So how many of you can really drive? I know Prasad can drive. Anybody else who can drive?
Bro, drive.
Yes.
Yes. How can you drive a car? Do you know anybody how to drive a car?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You can drive, right? Use your panels, use your controls on your panel. You can just say yes, no, go slower, go faster. There are multiple options you can use on the Zoom control panel. So if you can really drive, you can also program. You can also start learning how to program and how to start coding. And Navin says he know how to drive. That's a good thing. Why am I telling you this? It's because you know what? You learn on a particular car and you just rent out from your friend or get a very cheap car and what you do is you bang the car and to the hell and you steer the steering, you apply your brakes hard. I hear a noise from Rahupal, I believe. Rahupal, I'm muting you for a minute until your
Oh,
noise
yeah.
settles down. Okay. So, you get a car from one of your friend who doesn't no longer need the car, or you rent a car from a leasing company or anything. You try to get a car and you start learning on one particular car. You do not, you don't want to go for a high end car where you doesn't have to pay for the damages. You will get a car. Absolutely, which has four wheels and which takes actions depending on your steering, to your left and right and all. Which can brake and accelerate. These are the basic things you need. And you get this car, you understand how to drive your car. You pretty much are comfortable with your car. Until that point of time, you learn to drive one car. Okay. And what happens next? If you're switching back to a new car, are you supposed to learn from the basics? No, right? With a little familiarity with how the dashboard behaves and your seating arrangement is, and how the indicators and everything, how the positioning of the indicators and all these are the things you look for initially, and you get onto your car and you start driving you start driving any other car. You don't have to really start from the scratch. The exact same thing goes with the programming as well. You don't have to learn each and every programming language from the basic. You just have to learn one programming language, like you do driving in one particular car. You learn from the basics, and you switch on to a different car. It doesn't take much time, right? All it has to take, familiarize the dashboard. In the same way, when you're learning or when you start learning one programming language with a little effort, or I would say with no effort, there are few programming languages where you can easily switch. You can start learning any number of programming languages. The first thing is learn to drive one car, or learn to program learn to code a single programming language. Then you can code multiple languages. It doesn't matter which language is it. Once you have your basics up and running, you can absolutely code any language. Like when you learn one particular car, and the rest of all other cars share the same basics. They don't they, you do not have a steering to the left and right. Imagine if you are in the US, the steering remains the same. The way your wheels turn, with respect to your steering, everything remains the same. In the same sense, if you learn one programming language, there are multiple programming languages, or I would say all the programming languages share a lot of common things, like what a data type, loops. Do not worry about these big terms. I'm just trying to make you understand that learning one programming language can make you push and start learning other programming languages. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, I was keep telling you from the last 5 minutes that programming language, and I have a lot of folks who have, filled out their enrollment form saying that I have absolutely no knowledge about a programming language. Just try to break down this term, what a programming language is. Okay, so this is where the technical part starts, guys. Put on your seatbelts and let's start diving deep in. So what is a programming language? Can anybody tell me what is a programming language in the simplest terms possible? Okay, so you might have heard this hundreds and hundreds of times when you started any online course, or you have to, when you're hitting any classroom training, so people always keep saying that it's just an instruction. Just an instruction to the computer. Unfortunately, I have to say the same exact thing, because it's just a one line of instruction you give to a computer. But again, there are few folks who do not understand what a programming language is. Okay, just give me 1 minute, guys. I'm trying to. Few folks are unable to join. I'm not sure why there is an issue. Okay, is the limit up and running? If you can click and okay, maybe okay. Just give me a minute. Probably install a Zoom plugin to start. Okay, great. So people keep telling you that the programming language is just an instruction. So instruction is something you do, tell a computer to do something, and it does the thing, right? For example, and I'll try to break down what an instruction is. Okay, imagine if you have to go to your work location from your home location, and you put on your GPS. Okay, and the GPS doesn't tell you, okay, start from your home and go straight to your work location. It tries to break down the directions in terms of small informations like 1 mile straight, take a left, on to the right, right on the fork. So it's one instruction at one particular time. We cannot mix and match the instructions. The same goes with the programming language. On my left, I have one instruction. So I have to reach from point green, there's a dot green on my screen, to point red. I have to reach. The way the instruction would work is 1 mile straight and take a right. This is what my GPS says. If I mix and match my instructions, and I would say take right and 1 mile straight, I would reach a different location. I'm not reaching my destination. This goes with the programming language as well. Every instruction has to be in one particular, in an order, and very concise, one instruction at a time. And you bind all the instructions together, reaching your destination. Okay, any questions on until this point, guys? What a programming language was, what an instruction is? Okay, great. So you might have a question like, if Vikram, if it's just an instruction to a computer, why do we have so many programming languages? Can't we have one single programming language that can instruct the computer to do the same thing, right? So why do we have so many programming languages? Somebody's trying to write on my board. Somebody trying to ask a question.
No, that's, I mean, just going
Or
with the
that was an accident?
Yeah, it's a mistake. Yeah, you can carry on.
Okay, great. Let me just clear the stuff off.
Yeah, sorry for the trouble, brother.
No problem, man.
I just joined the meeting, so just go ahead.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Okay, is there an option on your end? Because I do not see anything on my end to clear it. Suresh?
Let me check. I'm just looking at it.
Okay, never mind. I will just reset it.
All right. Sorry for the
Great,
trouble.
no problem, man. Okay, so you might be wondering, even if you want to have Vikram, if you say that this is just an instruction to your computer, why do we have so many programming languages? Now, I'll try to tell you a story and try to explain why do we have so many programming languages. Uh, okay. Imagine you have a bicycle and you're pretty happy with the bicycle. You're riding your bicycle everywhere. You're going every place you want to go and happily riding. You doesn't have any, the fuel cost. You're physically active, fit. You can go along anywhere you want. Just that you have to put a little effort to run your bicycle with your muscle power. But you know what? There is one issue or one problem you constantly facing with your bicycle. You're pretty much happy, but there's one problem. This while riding uphill, you need to put a lot of effort, and sometimes you're very tired or exhausted, and you could not really able to push a bicycle up the hill. And this problem was constantly you're facing this problem constantly, and one day you decided, okay, what if I put some motor into my bicycle, and let the motor run the job, do the job of taking me uphill or taking me the places. And what you just did, you just invented another motorcycle. You you had a cycle, you have a bicycle, and you invented a motorcycle from a bicycle, and you're trying to solve one problem. You're trying to go uphill. The problem was solved, and you're pretty happy. You were in the summer season, and you're pretty happy with roaming around with your motorcycle. And there was another problem when you entered your winter season or a rainy season. There was another problem. It was very difficult for you to ride the bicycle, your bike in a rainy condition. You could not able to drive easily, or there are few stuff you have to make sure it doesn't go wet or anything like something like that. And you had constantly had this problem, and you came home, thought, let me put a hard roof on my bicycle and add two more wheels. And what you did, you just invented another car. So you started with a bicycle, you invented a motorcycle, and then you invented a car. What did you do? You just solved one problem. While solving the problem, you enhanced your vehicle, right? This is the same case with the programming language. There was one primary programming language. I'm not sure if there was C, Haskell. There was one programming language. That programming language, people enhanced it to make it better. Like they took the C language, they enhanced it, they became C++. Like you had a bicycle, you enhanced it, it became a motorcycle. And you had another problem. In the programming world, people faced one more problem with the programming, and they thought they have to, completely change the architecture of the language. Like, your motorcycle and your car are nowhere related except for the two wheels. Your engine is different, the way you drive your vehicle is different. In the same sense, the people in the programming world, they thought, this particular language is not solving one problem, so we have to come up with another language. They try to fix the things in the particular language. If they could not able to fix the things, or if there is getting too tedious, then they come up with another programming language to solve an issue. In rush of solving so many problems, people started inventing so many programming languages. But you know what? There's one thing common in all the programming languages, in all the vehicles. The wheels remain common. So you have to keep moving to learn programming languages always. And you might ask, well, okay, Vikram, you said we have enhanced a programming language, so people enhance it. Why not use the enhanced programming language? Why going back and using the older version of a programming language? If I ask you a question, the car can solve all the problems. Is everybody using the car? There are still people using a bicycle. There are still people using motorcycle and a variety of vehicles. Every vehicle serves a different purpose. Every programming language solves a different problem or a same problem in a different way. Make sense? Any questions on this? I would like at least one attendee to respond. I would really feel happy about it if you can respond. Anybody who at least say yes, no, or I do not understand what you say.
Yes, bro. Yes, yes, please. I understood.
Thank you, Naveen. Do you have any questions?
Uh,
People can just raise their hand, or you can text me, or I'm listening. I'm looking at the chat. If you have any questions, please put on your chat. Okay, Rahupal, go ahead. Guys, there's also an option to raise your hand if you have any questions. Rahupal, may I know what's your question? Rahupal, if you cannot talk, you can put your question on the chat. Okay. I will continue going. You can, whenever you're ready, you can put your question on. Okay, Pradeep Reddy says it's a good example. Thank you, Pradeep. Okay. So what? So in a similar fashion, the people started using extended C. They became C++, and Java wasn't enough for them, and they started using a different programming language called JavaScript, right? And remember, Java and the JavaScript is two different languages. We will talk more about this on day 3. Okay. Somebody is at a railway station. Can I hear a constant beep, guys? If somebody is in around a noisy environment, would you mind please muting your mic? Okay, thank you.
Hey Vikram, Rahipal here. Can you please mute me? I was unable to mute myself.
Oh, you're
I
unable to
was
mute?
connected to the
Okay,
phone.
maybe
Yeah.
you know why. Rahupal, I believe you're calling through your phone, so you're muting your phone would mute your Zoom meeting, Zoom as well. Okay, you can mute your phone. That would sync with your Zoom. Okay, great. So we just looked at how the programming languages have evolved and what is a programming language and what is an instruction and how do we do an instructions. And let's go back to syntax. Oh, I'm sorry, that was sudden. But syntax, does anybody know anything about a syntax and where this word come from? If you're learning any programming language, this is the first thing you have to learn. I say this, Vikram, what is this? Okay, let's break down. If you're learning an English language, no matter, not just the English language, any other language you're learning, the first thing you learn in a language is an alphabet. You learn what are the alphabets in a language, and you put together your alphabets, you make the words, and you put together your words, you make your sentences, you put together your sentences together and you make paragraphs, and the list of all the paragraphs makes your books. And if you are proficient in the particular language, you can also become a poet, the highest level of any language proficiency. That's the way we learn any language, and every language we learn, not just the programming language. Let's just keep aside what a programming language and try to understand real world languages, communication languages like English language. The English language work. We have words, sentences, paragraphs, and everything has to follow one particular thing. Anybody know what is the one particular thing the language has to follow? Every language have a different of what the answer is. The English language has to follow a certain grammar, right? You cannot put a vowel, you cannot put a noun, I'm sorry, not a vowel, you cannot put a noun, pronoun and verb as the way you wish. There is a particular order, you have to put in your the way you construct your sentences, right? And every language follows the same thing, not just English. Any other worldly language follows the same thing. You need to have a grammar to a language, right? A grammar to a language is syntax to a programming. As simple as that. So you learning a language, you learn the grammar of the language. If you're learning programming, the first thing you learn is a syntax of a programming. If I put it in a sentence, grammar is for English, is syntax is for programming. Syntax is what grammar to English. Syntax to programming is what grammar to English is. Okay. So if you are learning any programming language, you are learning its syntax first. Make sense, guys? Can it, any questions or raise your hands? Yes, no, what the hell you're talking? Or am I too fast? Go slow. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you, Rahba. So when you start learning a programming language, you actually learn what a syntax of a programming language is. You Okay, I just made. So if without any delay, so let's start diving into learning what a program. So we learn what a programming language is, what is a syntax is, what exactly we haven't learned how to do a proper what is a proper syntax, but we learn what is a syntax in the first place. I'm trying to give you a mental shortcut on these things. When you hear a word called syntax, when you hear a word called instruction, a programming language, these examples have to be concrete in your memory, and try to the next time you hear these words, they should simple enough to be break and able to figure out. Okay, the syntax. Okay, this guy was talking about the syntax. The syntax is a grammar, and he was talking about what tomorrow people might ask, oh, why is a programming language, why do we have so many programming languages? The example should help you, make you understand why the reason we have programming languages, what a programming language is, etc. So without any further delay, let's get started and using our coding skills. I'll try to code a very less amount of code during the sessions, because I'll try to explain more things. I would be more of a compass to take you to the directions. So the development, or the programming is like an ocean, and you're sailing on a boat. I'm just a compass in your boat. I will not take you to the destination. It's your boat that takes to your destination. Your boat is the way you practice. There are multiple lands out there. There is a PHP land, there's a Python land, and there's JavaScript land. It's your responsibility to use me as a compass and navigate through different lands and try to understand and explore locally. Once you reach there, you no longer need a compass. That's the way I work. Okay, I'll try to point you to the direction, but I will not take you to the direction. Okay, I'll be more of a guide to you. I'll share a lot of resources throughout the course. It's what you do after the class is more important than what we do during the class. Okay, so without any further delay, let's get trying to understand what a UI developer does, and what are the different I assume that everybody know what a user interface. I'm not going to break down in a very particular. So everybody, I believe that everybody have a smart device, and everybody have how to install an app from an Android and app store, how to at least log into your Facebook application, use your buttons, put in your information, log in. So I'm not trying to understand what a user interface. Anything that you touch and an action happens, that's a user interface. Starting from your anything devices from your car, where you control your playlist, to anything on your smart devices, everything is a user interface. And as a UI developer, we develop the user interfaces and add life to the UI. Okay, without a UI developer, it's just a UI without any life. You touch, nothing happens. But when you touch, something happens, the magic, right? UI developer adds the magic to the images or the mockups or the wireframes. The terms wireframes, mockups are it's simply an image. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do, but your developer jumps in, add the functionalities to the mockups. Okay, so let's get started. Probably you might have know what a browser is, and a browser would understand 3 languages. It's just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We'll try to understand HTML in today's class. We will try to understand CSS and JavaScript from tomorrow, but just try to understand what a HTML is. HTML is also a markup language. It's not a programming language, it's a markup language. Let me try to break down the term what a markup language is for you. Just give me a minute. I'm trying to set up my okay, I'm trying to switch to my iPad. I'm trying to write something on my iPad. Just give me 2 minutes. Stop sharing. Okay, can everybody see my screen back again? Everybody see that, right? Can everybody see my, I'm writing something on my iPad. Okay, Gautami says yes. Thank you, Gautami. Okay, so the way the HTML started is, there was one guy, an editor, and what he wants to do was he wants to write an article. And how an editor writes an article is, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing, I'll try to write a simple article, and I'll try to add headings, tags. I'll let you know what tags and headings are. Okay, so the way I would write that is getting started as UI developer. Okay, I want the guy who prints this information. This has to be a heading tag. Okay, so I'm adding a heading in here, and the second thing I need is things needed. Okay, and I say smaller heading. Imagine I'm writing this article to a newspaper, and while I write the things to a newspaper, I cannot really print the things. I have to write it on a paper and then type it out, right? Going back to the olden days where I do not have an access to a computer, where I have only that typewriter. A typewriter would have a standard font. You cannot have a huge font or a smaller font, right? So what I would do is, I do something like getting started as a UI developer and add a tag to it. Okay, I'm telling you this a tag, but I'm just adding another line of code, another line of text. I'm sorry, that's not a code. I'm text saying that, okay, guy, whenever you see a heading, make this as a heading. Okay, and this doesn't go into my newspaper. It's just for the guy who prints that newspaper. Okay, things needed, and I say this is a smaller heading as well. And the first thing I need is a computer, right? Let me do. Okay, the first thing I would need is a computer. This is one. Okay, the second thing I would need is an internet connection. The third thing I need is for passion to learn. And I have to tell the guy, okay, this is a list. Okay. And what I just did was, the font, everything I read is of the same length and size, except that what I did was, add a little tags. The tags are these things here. So this thing is a tag here, this thing is a tag here, this thing is a tag, and this thing is a tag. What I'm doing is marking, adding marking to my content, saying that, okay, whoever is typing this, make sure that you have this heading. The biggest heading is this one. The smaller heading has to be this one, and make sure this is a list. Okay. And the guy takes this information, if you remember in the olden days, they have this printing machines where you manually have to put the metal pieces onto a machine to print on a paper. So the guy takes it and make sure that, okay, getting started as a UI developer, he sees for the biggest metal piece available in the font. And the next thing they would do is things needed, the computer, internet, fashion, and he make sure that this is a list. Great. Okay, so this is for people who is printing it. What if I have to present the same information onto a browser for people who want to look the information onto an internet? The browser has to understand this information, right? So they came up with a language called HTML. What it does, it hypertext. This is the text, right? This is everything is a text markup. And what I'm doing is I'm marking it right in here. Okay. Hypertext markup language. Language is the thing you already understand. Markup is like, I'm marking, saying this is my text, right? This is my hypertext. I'm marking my text to make sure that when hitting a browser, it has to be a heading. Okay, now let's get back to our code and try to code this.
I can't see your screen.
Oh, can you see now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the first thing I would do is, just create a HTML, a very small text file. What I would do is a new document. And the first thing I would do is, save this document as a index.html. Index is very important. The first thing the browser, when you throw a document, when you create your HTML pages, the first page the browser would look at is an index. And .html, I'm just using a dot, and HTML is an extension. Okay, every file we create, we have an extension for it. If it's a text file, we have a txt file. If it's a video file, we have uh, mm, uh, many VLC or video file formats like MP4, all that type of files, right? So every file and every file has an extension. The HTML also has an extension called index.html. You can also say .htm. There are few Linux machines which they do not accept 4 characters after the dot. So .html or .htm, both one and the same. I'm just creating a file, index.html. Okay. I'm using a Mac machine. It doesn't matter if you have a Windows machine. You can just create a new text file. Okay. Let me try to create it from my terminal. I'm making a new directory. Oops. So I'm just made a new directory in here, and I'm creating a new file, .html. Okay, you can just create using any text editor and copy, save it, creating a .html file. I'm just using my terminal to do it. And once I have my HTML, I can just open it with any of the text editors. The HTML is just a text, so you can able to edit it using any text editors. So I can just trying to edit using my text. Can everybody see my screen? Try to increase my font a little bit. Okay. So let's get started with the tags. Okay, the first thing I have to do is just writing it, getting started as too big. Okay, is it clear enough, guys? Can you able to see? Okay, getting started as UI developer. And that second thing I need is things needed, right? I'm just trying to write whatever I have written on my whiteboard. And what are things I need? I need a computer, right? I need an internet. I need a passion to learn the things. If I go ahead and open this using my Chrome browser, what you see is just the text. On my left is the output of what I have written on my text file. On the right is my what an HTML is. Okay, people are keep joining in. Okay, great. So on my left is the browser is reading my index.html file, which is on my right side. Okay, and look at the things. It's reflecting the things as it is. It doesn't not asking me to make it a header. I said you're right that we need to put the getting started as a UI developer as a header, and the things needed as the second header, and the computer internet passion has to be a list of items like this, like 1, 2, and 3. So what I do is have to let the browser know that, okay, whenever you see getting started as a UI developer, make it a bigger text, make it as a header. The way I would do that is, yes. Who's that? I'm sorry, Santosh, I'm muting you. So I have to let the browser know that, getting started as a UI developer is a heading. The way I would do that is, left angular brace, H is a heading, okay? And there are 6 headings in HTML, 1 to 6. 1 is the highest heading or the largest heading. So H1 and close. This is called a tag, just a tag, okay? And this is an opening tag. But if I do this, it does not understand until what point of text it has to be a header. So I have to go all the way until point where my text has to be a heading. What I do is open another angular brace and backslash. letting it understand, okay, this is the end of my tag, and a H1 and close. Okay, I save it on my right and give it a little refresh. Oh, okay. So I have to tell my browser know that it's a index.html. Oh. Something going on with my text editor. Great. Okay. So what's happening? I'm telling it my browser know that this is a header tag, but what is going on? The browser unable to understand this is my header tag, right? The reason being, the browser, we have to tell the browser that you are reading a HTML document. You're not reading some odd document. You're reading a HTML document. The way we're gonna do that is add a doc type. This is one particular tag you have to use in your entire HTML page. And this says exclamation doc type and HTML and close it. It tells your browser that, okay, if you throw a page to someone or a file to someone, if the application does not understand my what type of a file it is, it unable to read, right? If you have a video file, you have to tell your VLC to read the file. If you have a picture, you have a Picasa or a photo viewer. In the same sense, you have to let the browser know, okay, I'm throwing a HTML to you. The way you tell is using this particular tag called doc type HTML. And the reason we do HTML is because there are various versions of HTML. There are HTML4, there are HTML5, and there is an XHTML. There's a lot of versions of HTML. So you have to tell the browser, okay, browser, you are about to read a HTML5 document. And the way we're gonna do that is using doc type HTML. And the browser would understand. Okay, this is perfect. But we are throwing a HTML document, and there is something else we have to do. If the browser does not, the HTML has to put together into a single tag. And the way we're gonna do that is like this. I'm sharing this for a minute, and opening tag, HTML, and a closing tag. So this tells the browser, okay, this is your document type, and this is your starting of a document, and this is your ending of the document. Pranav, for some reason, I keep getting the request again and again from you, man. Okay, so I have to tell the browser has to understand, okay, I'm getting an HTML document, and which is the start of a document and which is an end of a document. And the way I would do that is, start a HTML tag and end the HTML tag. Okay. I always imagine, the way HTML, the structure of a HTML is like a sandwich. You have a bread on the top, you have a bread in the bottom. You have your, the condiments, your lettuce, tomato inside your HTML, right? The top bread is a HTML on the first layer, and the bottom bread or the bottom slice of piece of bread is a bottom HTML in here. So we are wrapping a sandwich and throwing out to the browser. Okay, and the browser is reading through your HTML document. As soon as your browser understands this, okay, you're reading an HTML documents, there's a one more tag inside the HTML, and it's called a head. I'm opening it and closing it. Okay, this head tag is something you do not see on the UI. What I mean by that is, whatever I write inside my head tag, that does not reflect on the UI. It's something, so let me, there are multiple tags in the HTML that goes into the head tag, and one of the tag is called a title tag. And what a title tag does is, if you have opened any browser, there's a little thing on the index, you see this little icon on the top, index dot there is a text on my browser. This thing here, index.html, that is what the title does. So I'm just putting it as this is a sample title, and I'm closing the title. Okay, let me copy this. Create another file. Just opening another file. Okay. This should be much better. I just switched it to a different editor to make things clear. So I have a doc type. Now my file started trying to understand, okay, I'm throwing in HTML file. And what just happened was as soon as I throw in a title, this is a sample title that has started showing up on my tab in here. If you can see, that's really tiny in there. If you can see, this is a sample title. There are multiple tags that goes inside my header tag. Okay, great. So there are multiple titles that go into my header tag. One of the other titles is meta tag. So these titles, the meta tag is a self-closing tag. It does not have to be closed. Like we do a closing tag in here, the title tag, we don't have to close the meta tag. So it's a self-closing tag, and the meta tags helps to browser to understand, there are if you're anybody familiar with the search engine optimization, if you do any Google, if you try to go to Google and try to do any Google searches, it will try to pull the documents that match your search, right? And that is where the meta tags come into play. So you say name of the meta tag, and you say a description. This is what your website is about or your web app is about, and you say what is your content is. So this is a sample content. Okay, there are multiple tags that goes into the HTML. I'll share a link. What are all the possible tags inside the HTML? In the header tag, there's an once you have the head tag, so the head tag doesn't really show anything on the UI. You need something that has to be shown on the UI, right? So that is where a body tags comes in. So open a body tag and close the body tag, and this is the body tag is the visual part where you actually see the content on the UI. The head tag doesn't really show anything on your browser. The browser would still have the data on inside the browser, but it does not really show anything. The body tag is the tag that shows the data onto the browser. So like just going ahead, And going back to our example of getting started, the first tag we need is a h1 tag, which is the highest tag. And getting started as UI developer, and close the tag. Okay, and give it a little refresh. So things started showing on my UI. So whatever I put inside my body tag starts showing on my UI. The second tag I would need is a h2 tag, a much smaller tag than a h1 tag. Okay, I said there are 6 tags in the HTML, right? So I would do 2 here, and things needed. Okay, give it a refresh, and I have a little smaller heading than my h1 tag. In the similar sense, I would have another tag. It's called an ordered list tag. Inside an ordered list tag, of an opening tag and a closing tag. Okay, and I have to do each list item. A computer, and I copy this. I would say internet, and I would say a passion. Give it English and refresh. So on my right, you can see that, on my right, what I did was you have my content. I mark it up. Okay, I mark it up using different tags. Do not worry about all these tags. I'll share you the links of where you get all these tags from. Learning HTML is all about learning the tags, like learning, we were the more the more number of times you familiarize with your tags, the more amount of tags you have an understanding of, the more easier you can code your HTML. So do not worry about what tags. You can always go online and see for number of tags available and each usage of the tags. Okay, and I'll let you know what an IDE is. Right now I'm using an Atom IDE. IDE is nothing but, while you start doing your development, while you have your text editor, right, where you actually code your HTML. The text editor, if you're the text editor might not help you. So on my UI, you can see that the different tags have a different color. My content has a different color. So this visually helps me to code better. Also, there are much advanced IDEs. IDE is nothing but an integrated development environment, a little small software where you can actually type in your code, and the IDE would help you understand, okay, if there are any future errors or any current errors that you have to fix even before you run your code. So that's an IDE in there. So you can use any IDE. You can if you can use it Notepad++, you can use Atom, Sublime Text, anything. The whole thing is you have to get accustomed to the shortcuts, and the more you understand how the IDE shortcuts are, the faster is your development. Okay, so we went over the body tag, we went over the head tag and the basic HTML and the way how the tags works, and we'll try to understand how we can debug the HTML. So I know that, okay, I have the coded my HTML on my right, and I can see the output on the UI on the left side. What if something goes wrong and I do not see the content? You can just go to any browser, right click on it and say inspect, and that inspect would bring you a little toolbar down your browser, and what you can do is you can just enable it, inspecting it a live inspect. Click on the little icon in here and you can just hover on your element, and it shows right in here which element you are in, which element you have just hovered. So I'm just hovering it on the getting started as a UI developer, and as soon as I hover it, it just shows, okay, it's an h1 tag. So this is what I have written on my left side, and this is showing my tags in detail. So you can see that this is a h1 tag, and this is a h2 tag, and this is a list of tags. This is how you debug your HTML code. Any questions so far? Any questions? And if anybody have any questions, I would be more than happy to, if about the course or how would we would do it. I really flied through the HTML, but we would slow down a little bit, try to understand each doc type is various available options in the doc type is, how you can set up your IDs. This 1 hour session, I really gushed through. I was more focused on getting the understanding of what a programming language is, not really trying to make you understand how do we start doing a programming language. But down the sessions, we will go very slow, trying to understand one thing a bit. I try to squeeze a lot of things in one session to try to give you an overview of how things work.
I have a question for you.
Yes. Who's that?
As a front-end developer, we need to know the REST API and Spring Boot and all things, or just we need to know the HTML, CSS, and AngularJS?
Oh, that's a good question. You do not have to know anything about an API. It's like, you have a tap at your home, right? You get your water out of the tap and you fill your container. You don't have to know where the water is coming from, how the water is purified, etc. This is the data, how the data is constructed and all. All you have to do is you turn your tap on and get the water and fill your containers. Getting the data and filling the UI is all you do. So you don't have to really know anything about the API. They would just give you an API. For example, let me show you a quick thing. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. Well, I'm not sharing my whole screen, so just give me a minute. Okay, let me share my whole screen. Can you see my whole screen?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just go to my JSON. This is a fake JSON I'm creating. Okay, may I know your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Pranav.
Pranav. So I'm just creating a data here, Pranav. Do not worry about what I'm creating, what the syntax for this creation is.
Yeah.
So when you go on to job tomorrow, and what you get the information is this. You see this API myjson.com, like here.
Yes. Yeah.
This is what you get from the backend developers. So you get a very clear document saying that, okay, we have this API, you have to consume this API. Consume in the sense, right now I just created an API and pasting it in my browser and hitting a enter, and I'm just getting a name Pranav, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So what you do is you style your name, you style the Pranav, and show the show the data in a very visually attractive way, or a visual in a you understand it, right?
Okay, I
Putting
got
it on
it.
a UI. So you don't have to understand how the API is created. There are multiple server-side technologies. They would use a Java Spring Boot, Node APIs. It really does not matter.
And
All you
I
have to
have
do
a
is,
question.
yes.
It's just I need to know,
Mhm.
as there is a Gmail application, right? It built on AngularJS, right?
I have no clue really if it was built on an AngularJS.
Oh no, I need some example for AngularJS. I'm a little bit confused between what does actually we can do with AngularJS without knowing the backend part, like
Mhm.
REST API and this all. Just the front end part is only for designing.
Yes, absolutely. Just the front end passes, get the data and show it on the UI. That's all. That is all every UI developer does. Get the data, show it on the UI. And if the user updates anything data on the UI, update the backend using the API. Everything is connected to the API. Everything you do it on the front end is going back to hitting an API and updating the database.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will try to use a very small library, a very small component using React. We'll also try to understand why there are many frameworks like Angular, Vue.js, Ember, React, and what a virtual DOM is, what a DOM is, etc. as we go forward.
Okay.
In the second week, we'll be focusing more on frameworks instead of just a regular program, just basic HTML, CSS, and instead of just basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Anybody have any more questions regarding the course or how we gonna do? Okay, so Pradeep says any assignments for today. So the thing it works is every day before you connect to the class, we would have a quiz that I would send out, and each of you would have to complete the quiz. So the quiz would have all the questions that we did today. Would have a lot of questions, probably a lot of questions from today's session or questions out of the class. So you have to go out, Google something, and try to answer the questions. So that should help you. Regarding the assignments, it's up to you if you would like to do any assignment. The one assignment I would ask you to do is, try to do your resume using a HTML. So use all different kinds of tags. After the session, I will also share you about what are the different tags and the usages in a HTML. So just use that as a cheat sheet and try to create your own resume. The heading, the H1 tag is your client name, the H2 is your your position in the job, and the list is the responsibilities, etc. Did that answer your question, Pradeep? Great. Any more questions, guys? Yes. Who's that? So on my screen, I have list of all the tags that are available in the HTML, including audio, video, text, meter. I would share this file after the class. You can just go through it. There are a lot of control components as well. So just use this as a cheat sheet and try to create your HTML document